The research vessel Axiom drifted through the blue silence of space, its hull reflecting the shimmer of a distant yellow star. Inside, Dr. Alara Wren stood by the viewing glass, her heart steady, but her eyes alive with quiet excitement. She had waited her whole life for this moment, the chance to explore a world no human had ever touched. Her mission was to study the strange planet below, known to the fleet as Virel. From space it looked peaceful, a sea of crystal plains and soft golden clouds. But something about it seemed alive, as if it watched the approaching ship. Alara was not like the others on board. While the rest of the crew followed strict science and procedure, she followed her instinct. She believed that life in the universe was not just about biology, but about connection, the unseen thread between thought and energy. She had written papers that others called impossible, yet now, standing before the world below, she felt those old doubts fade. If Virel held secrets, she was ready to find them. The captain's voice came through the intercom, calm but cautious. "Dr. Wren, the planet's surface readings are unstable. Energy waves keep changing patterns. It's like the whole planet is pulsing." Alara stepped closer to the screen, her hand resting against the glass. The pulses looked almost rhythmic, like a heartbeat. She smiled faintly. "Then we should listen to it," she said. "Maybe it's trying to speak." The descent began with soft tremors. The ship passed through clouds of gold dust that glowed under the sunlight. Static crackled through the speakers. Outside, the plain stretched endlessly, smooth glass fields with rivers of light running beneath them. When the landing gear touched down, the ground sang, a low hum that vibrated through the metal floor. Some crew members whispered nervously. Others stared in awe. Alara simply stood still, her breath caught in her throat. She had never seen beauty like this. It felt like standing inside a living thought. As soon as the ramp lowered, the air sensors blinked green. The atmosphere was breathable, though thin and slightly charged with energy. Alara and her small team stepped out, their boots crunching softly against the shimmering surface. Every sound echoed as if the planet listened. In the distance, giant crystal towers rose from the plains, glowing faintly with internal light. It wasn't sunlight. It was something else, something older, deeper. "Record everything," she said, her voice steady but filled with wonder. "This place might change what we know about life itself." Her assistant, a young technician named Ryan, walked beside her, scanning with handheld sensors. "These crystals are emitting low-frequency signals," he said. "Almost like speech patterns." Alara's pulse quickened. "Can you decode them?" she asked. Ryan shook his head. "Not yet. It's like they're responding to our presence." The farther they walked, the stronger the hum became. It wasn't threatening, it was inviting. The patterns on the scanner changed each time Alara spoke, as if answering her voice. At one point she stopped, removed her glove and placed her bare hand against a glowing wall of crystal. The surface was warm, impossibly warm for something that should have been cold as glass. A faint light followed the shape of her palm, spreading outward like a ripple in water. The team stepped back in shock. "Dr. Wren," Ryan shouted. "It's reacting to you." She didn't move her hand. Her mind filled with faint whispers, not words, but feelings. Curiosity, recognition, joy. The emotions weren't hers, yet she felt them as clearly as her own heartbeat. Slowly she pulled her hand away and the glow faded. "It's alive," she said softly. "Not in the way we understand life, but aware. It knows we're here." Back on the ship, the captain was less pleased. "You're risking contamination," he said. "We don't know what kind of reaction this world can cause." Alara looked at him calmly. "With respect, Captain, we came here to understand alien life. We can't do that from orbit." Her tone was polite but firm. She had always believed that curiosity was humanity's greatest strength. To fear discovery was to stop growing, and she could not accept that. That night, Alara reviewed the data in her lab. The recordings showed faint patterns of energy moving through the crystal fields. They pulsed in steady rhythm, aligning perfectly with her voice when she spoke earlier. She rewound the footage several times, listening carefully. For a moment, just before the light faded, there was a sound. Soft, melodic, almost like a human hum answering her. She leaned closer to the screen, heart racing. The alien world had replied. Sleep didn't come easily. The hum from below still echoed in her ears, faint but steady. She knew the others would call it imagination, maybe even a malfunction. But deep down she felt certain. Something intelligent lived beneath that surface, waiting for someone brave enough to listen. As she looked out the window, the plains of Varel shimmered faintly under the starlight, and for one brief second, she thought she saw a flicker of light move, as if the planet blinked back at her. Tomorrow, she told herself, she would return to that spot. She would not just going alone again, he asked, rubbing his eyes. Ilara gave a small smile. It's safer if I go first. The crystals respond to me, not to the others. Ryan hesitated. Captain said no more field trips until we analyze yesterday's data. I'm not breaking orders, she said softly. I'm following science. He sighed but handed her a portable beacon. At least take this. If something happens, I'll track your signal. She nodded, her expression grateful. Then the airlock door closed and she stepped back into the strange living silence of Varel. The walk to the crystal plane was long but strangely comforting. Each step echoed faintly, and sometimes she could swear the sound repeated back to her from far away. Not as an echo, but as if the planet was speaking in her rhythm. When she reached the glowing spires again, she stopped and looked around. The field had changed. The crystals seemed taller, brighter, and their glow pulsed slower, steadier like a deep breath. She took a step forward and whispered, I'm back. The crystals answered with a faint shimmer. Her scanner blinked wildly, lines of data forming patterns that looked almost like words. Then the ground beneath her feet trembled lightly, and one of the spires split open, revealing a passage leading underground. Ilara's heart raced. Her instincts told her this was dangerous, but her curiosity pulled stronger. She activated her helmet light and stepped carefully inside. The tunnel walls were covered in fine, glass-like veins of light that pulsed in harmony with her heartbeat. It felt like walking through the inside of a living organism. The air was warm, filled with a faint scent of ozone and minerals. At the end of the tunnel, she entered a vast cavern. The ceiling arched high above her, covered in swirling lines of blue energy. In the center stood a massive structure, part crystal, part machinery, and yet somehow organic. It resembled a giant heart carved from glass, beating with slow, luminous rhythm. She stared in silent wonder. This can't be natural, she whispered. It's built, but not by human hands. Then the hum grew louder. The air shimmered before her, and a figure began to form, a tall, radiant shape of light. Its body flickered like a reflection on water, neither solid nor air. It had no face, but its presence was gentle, curious. Ilara froze, her breath caught. Are you alive? She asked quietly. The light pulsed once, then a soft vibration filled the air, almost like a voice made of music. She felt it not in her ears but in her mind. A single word formed inside her thoughts. Seeker. She stepped closer, trembling but unafraid. You can understand me? The figure shimmered again, and this time a second wave of emotion passed through her. Recognition, warmth, and a strange sadness. Her eyes filled with tears without knowing why. She felt like she was standing before something ancient and lonely. What are you? She whispered. The being's light dimmed for a moment, and her scanner began recording strange signals, layers of harmonic frequencies, mathematical structures and faint symbols that resembled human language but far older. She realized it wasn't just speaking. It was translating itself to her. The alien presence filled her mind with visions, not images but feelings. She sensed a civilization that once lived here. Tall beings of light and energy who built worlds with song and memory. They had vanished long ago, leaving only echoes of themselves behind. The crystals, the hum, the pulse, all were remnants of their thoughts still alive in this planet's core. When the vision ended, Ilara fell to her knees, breathing hard. The figure remained, its light softer now. She managed to say, "You're the memory of your people, aren't you?" The answer came as a slow wave of light across the walls. Her translator caught fragments. We remember. We wait. You came. She wanted to ask 100 questions, but the emotions flooding her mind were too heavy. It wasn't only communication, it was connection. The being was touching her thoughts gently, like someone learning to speak through feeling. Her radio crackled suddenly. Dr. Wren, this is Ryan. Your signal's moving underground. What's going on? Ilara lifted her communicator weakly. It's beautiful, Ryan. There's something down here. It's not hostile. It knows us. Knows us how? He asked, his voice tense. She stared at the glowing figure, her hand trembling slightly. Because it remembered humanity. It remembers Earth. Static filled the channel. Ryan didn't answer. But she could feel the truth of her words deep inside her. The alien memory didn't just know who she was. It had seen humans before. Somehow, across the endless stars, their histories had touched. The being's light brightened and another wave of energy spread through the cavern. Her helmet lights flickered. The scanner recorded an overload of data. For a brief instant, her mind filled with countless voices whispering across time, ancient songs, laughter, sorrow, and one final phrase that echoed clearly in her heart. Do not forget us. Then everything went still. The light faded back to a soft glow and the cavern grew silent. Ilara stood there for a long time, her hand pressed against her chest, thumb beneath. I'm here, she whispered. I want to understand. The hum grew stronger. The air shimmered, and the faint outline of the being appeared again, forming from threads of light. Its presence filled her with a strange calm, as if she were standing before an old friend. She didn't need to speak this time. The connection opened on its own. A wave of memories poured into her. Images of vast cities built from crystal and light, beings who sang to the stars and ships that sailed on pure energy. Then came sorrow. She saw storms that tore through their world, oceans turning to glass and voices fading into silence. The civilization had fallen not to war, but to time and despair. Their last act was to bind their memories to the heart of their planet, waiting for someone who could hear them. When the vision ended, Ilara was trembling. Tears ran down her cheeks, though she didn't understand why. The being's glow softened, and she felt a comforting pulse of emotion. Gratitude. It was thanking her for listening. You were alone for so long, she said softly. But why me? Why can I hear you? The answer came not in words, but in sensation. A mirror reflecting light. She understood then it wasn't her alone. The connection existed because she wanted to understand, not to take. Curiosity, not conquest, had opened the bridge. Humanity's spirit of discovery was what the alien memory had waited for. She stayed there for hours, exchanging silent thoughts and feelings with the being. It learned from her too, images of Earth, of oceans, laughter, storms, and music. When she showed it the sound of a violin, the being's light pulsed in delight. It responded with its own song, made of harmonic waves that filled the air with gentle vibrations. The two melodies blended together, human and alien, until they became one sound that filled the plains like a living dream. Back on the ship, Ryan tracked her signal and frowned. She's out there again, he told the captain. Every night now, the captain sighed. She's crossing a line. Science is one thing, but emotional contact with an unknown intelligence? That's dangerous. Should I bring her in? Ryan asked. Not yet, the captain replied. But if she shows any signs of influence, we cut communication and pull her out. When Ilara finally returned, her eyes glowed faintly with a soft blue hue, almost invisible under the ship's light. The med scanner detected small changes in her neural activity, patterns that didn't match any known human readings. But she felt fine, better than fine. Her mind was alive with knowledge. She could recall symbols, equations, and details she had never learned before. When she touched the lab console, the alien symbols sometimes flickered on the screen as if following her thoughts. Ryan noticed and stared in disbelief. Ilara, what's happening to you? She smiled gently. It's learning through me, and I'm learning through it. That's not safe, he said. It could be rewriting your brain. It's not rewriting, she replied softly. It's remembering. Through me. He didn't know what to say. There was something calm but unsettling about her tone. Not cold, just different, as if a part of her no longer belonged entirely to this world. Later that night, alone in her quarters, Ilara sat by the viewing glass. The stars stretched endlessly across the dark, and Varel glowed below like a sleeping heart. The voice of the being filled her mind again, softer now, like a whisper in a dream. We see through you, she didn't resist. The words came with comfort, not command. Images filled her mind again. 1,000 stars connected by thin lines of light. The being showed her what it wanted, not power, not control, but memory. Its kind had once known humanity long ago, before Earth's first cities, before written history. Somehow, through the vast network of the cosmos, their knowledge had touched early human dreams. Now, through her, that link was alive again. She opened her notebook and began to draw. Strange geometric patterns filled the pages, spirals, runes, star maps. Her hand moved almost by itself, but every symbol felt right. familiar like remembering a forgotten language. She whispered softly, "I understand you now. You're not just data. You're alive." The hum deepened, vibrating through the ship's hull. Lights flickered across the walls. Ryan rushed in, shouting her name, but she barely heard him. Her focus was locked on the patterns glowing on the screen. The same rhythm she had felt from the planet now echoed in her heartbeat. When it stopped, she looked up at him, her eyes shining faintly blue. "It's communicating with the ship," she said in a quiet voice. "It's trying to share something, its story, its truth." Ryan stared at her, half in fear, half in awe. "Ilara, you might be the bridge it's been waiting for." She looked back toward the planet, the glow reflecting in her eyes. "Maybe," she whispered. "But what if it's not just waiting? What if it's waking up?" The following morning, tension filled the air aboard the Axiom. The command deck buzzed with nervous voices as strange energy readings came from the planet below. Monitors flickered with patterns that no one could explain, symbols repeating faster than computers could record. Every few minutes, the ship's lights dimmed as if something unseen was drawing power from them. The captain ordered all field operations stopped, and the crew was told to stay aboard until further notice. Ilara stood at her lab window, staring down at the glowing world. Her reflection looked pale and tired, but her eyes still carried that faint blue shimmer. She heard the captain's words echo in her head. "You're not setting foot down there again." But she couldn't let it go. The alien presence was still calling to her. Even now she could feel a soft hum vibrating through the ship, pulsing like a heartbeat beneath her skin. When she touched the glass, the hum grew stronger, as if answering her thoughts. She whispered, "You're not trying to hurt us, are you?" There was no reply in words, but a sense of reassurance filled her mind. Calm, patient, waiting. Later that day, Ryan entered her lab, holding a data tablet filled with readings. "You should see this," he said. "The crystal field you visited. It's reacting to our ship's power core. Energy is flowing upward into orbit. That's never happened before," Ilara frowned. "It's connecting to us. Maybe it thinks the ship is alive." Ryan shook his head. "Or it's using us." She turned toward him, her tone calm but certain. "No, it's trying to share something. I can feel it." Before he could respond, the ship trembled violently. Alarm screamed across the decks. The floor shook as systems overloaded. The captain's voice came through the intercom. "All crew to stations. Containment breach in reactor grid." "We're losing power!" Ilara and Ryan ran to the control screens. The readings showed energy flowing not out of the ship, but into it. The alien signal from the planet was feeding the core. The overload lights flashed red. If it continued, the ship would burn from the inside out. Ryan grabbed her arm. "We have to shut it down." Ilara's mind raced. "If we cut the link, we lose whatever it's sending." "If we don't, we lose everything," he shouted. Before he could stop her, she ran from the lab, heading toward the lower deck where the communication array was located. The hall shook around her as lights flickered and panels sparked. She moved fast, clutching the small memory drive she'd prepared earlier. She had made a promise to the being, to listen, to remember, and she wouldn't break it. At the communication array, she opened a secure channel to the surface. The console glowed with unstable light, flickering between human code and alien script. The hum deepened until the air itself seemed to vibrate. She typed quickly, sending one command after another, trying to translate what the alien wanted to share. Then the console screen went completely white. A voice filled her mind, soft, layered, and full of sorrow. "We are fading. Help us remember," she whispered back, trembling. "How? Tell me what to do." The light formed symbols across the console, a pattern she had seen before drawn by her own hand without knowing its meaning. A coordinate deep below the surface, a core chamber, the heart of Varel. The voice pulsed again, filling her with warmth. "Through you we live," she knew what she had to do. She ran to the shuttle bay, ignoring the captain's voice shouting through the comms to stand down. Ryan followed, trying to stop her. "Ilara, don't. You'll get yourself killed." She turned to him, her expression calm but full of conviction. "If this is what they've been waiting for, I have to finish it." He stared at her helplessly as she climbed into the shuttle. "At least let me come with you." Ilara approached slowly. "You brought me here," she said softly. The sphere's glow intensified and the same luminous figure appeared again. Its light flickered gently around her. Merge memory, it whispered into her thoughts. Save what we were, she hesitated. If I do this, what happens to me? The response came like a wave of gentle warmth. We share. Weary me. Ember, together. Her heart pounded. Every instinct told her to turn back. But another voice inside whispered louder. The voice of the scientist, the explorer. The human who had always believed that understanding life was worth the risk. She reached out her hand. The moment her fingers touched the sphere, the entire chamber erupted in light. Energy surged through her body. Not burning, not painful, but vast. She felt 1,000 voices, memories and emotions rushing through her. For an instant she was everywhere, walking alien streets, flying through luminous skies, singing in languages made of light. And in the center of it all, she felt peace. Back on the Axiom, Ryan shouted as the planet below lit up like a small sun. She did it. She activated something. The captain stared at the readings in disbelief. Or unleashed something. But deep in the cavern, Ilara stood bathed in light, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. She could still hear her own heartbeat, but now it was joined by another. 2 rhythms, one human, one alien, beating as one. She had fulfilled the promise. She whispered softly, "You're not forgotten." When Ilara opened her eyes again, everything around her had changed. The cavern no longer glowed with steady light. It pulsed softly, as if breathing with her. The air shimmered with faint colors and tiny sparks floated gently like fireflies made of glass. Her body felt weightless, her mind filled with a strange clarity. The alien presence was still there, but now it felt closer, warmer, almost part of her. She looked down at her hands and gasped. Faint blue light traced along her veins, pulsing with every heartbeat. Her suit's monitors blinked wildly, unable to read her vitals. She could hear faint whispers inside her mind. Voices, hundreds of them, speaking all at once in a language she did not know, yet somehow understood. They were thanking her, calling her the bridge. The glow around her faded slightly, revealing the chamber's full size. The great sphere at the center now floated quietly, its light dim but peaceful. The alien figure appeared once more, hovering just ahead. It was smaller now, almost human-shaped. Its light flickered softly, and she felt its emotions clearly. Relief, gratitude, and farewell. "You're leaving," she whispered. The voice came like a breeze through her thoughts. "Not leaving. Living through you." Before she could reply, a shockwave rippled through the ground. The cavern trembled and cracks of light ran through the crystal walls. The entire planet seemed to stir from a long sleep. She stumbled, clutching a nearby pillar. Through the glowing dust, she saw the sphere sinking slowly into the ground, merging with the planet's core. Energy burst upward in a bright column, piercing through the surface and into the sky. Far above, aboard the Axiom, the crew watched in stunned silence as a giant beam of blue light shot from the planet into orbit. The entire ship's systems flickered, then filled with symbols and equations that scrolled too fast to read. The computers recorded everything, formulas, star charts, and strange codes that seemed to rewrite themselves. Rian's voice shook. "Captain, she's alive down there." "I can feel her signal. It's everywhere." The captain frowned. "Everywhere?" "Yes, the readings are coming from her frequency, but it's like she's part of the planet now." The captain turned toward the window, watching the beam of light fade into the void. "Then God help us, she's become the key." Down below, Ilara stood in the center of the fading light. Her thoughts were calm, though the air around her still trembled. She could see images not with her eyes, but within her mind, the memories of an entire race flowing through her. They showed her what had happened to them, how their son had grown unstable, how they had transferred their thoughts into crystal memory, how they had waited centuries for someone who could feel rather than fear. As their last memories settled in her mind, she heard the voice again, softer than ever. "We are free now. The rest is yours to carry," she whispered. "What if I can't hold it? You already are." Her vision blurred and she felt herself falling. When she awoke again, she was lying inside a med bay aboard the Axiom. Bright lights flickered above her and Ryan sat beside the bed, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Ilara, you're awake." He leaned closer, holding her hand. "We thought we lost you." Her voice came out weak but steady. How did I get here?" "We tracked the energy surge. After it faded, your shuttle floated back to the surface like someone carried it there." He hesitated, looking at the monitors. But you're not exactly the same. She turned her head toward the screen. Her medical data made no sense. Brain activity beyond normal range, body temperature perfectly stable, and her DNA sequence marked with unknown patterns. I feel fine, she said quietly. Better than before. Ryan looked uneasy. You've got something inside you, Alara. It's not just energy. The computers are picking up signals from you. She smiled faintly. It's them. They're not gone, just quiet. In the following days, strange things began to happen aboard the ship. The lights occasionally flickered in rhythm with her heartbeat. Screens displayed patterns no one could decode. The navigation system began plotting new courses to star systems far beyond known maps. Each time, Alara could sense what it meant. The coordinates weren't random. They were destinations, worlds the alien civilization had once visited. The captain called an emergency meeting. We can't risk the ship, he said. Whatever she brought back is infecting our systems. Ryan stood up in her defense. It's not an infection. It's knowledge. Data we could never even dream of understanding. The captain's jaw tightened. Or it's a trap. Alara entered the room quietly, her voice calm but firm. It's not a trap. It's communication. The planet gave us its memory, everything they knew. They wanted humanity to remember them. The captain frowned. And what if that memory consumes you, Doctor? She met his eyes. Then at least it means they didn't die in silence. The room fell silent. The crew didn't know what to believe. But deep down, everyone felt it. The ship was no longer just human. It was something more now, something touched by another world's spirit. That night, Alara stood once again by the window, watching the stars drift past. Her reflection glowed faintly, her eyes still carrying that alien light. She touched the glass and whispered, "Are you still there?" And in that moment, the stars outside shimmered brighter, forming a faint outline of light, a wave of silent acknowledgement. She smiled softly. She knew the bond had changed her forever. The alien consciousness was part of her now, gentle, curious, and still learning. But it wasn't control. It was trust. It had chosen humanity not because of power, but because of compassion. As the ship drifted toward the unknown stars marked by those new coordinates, Alara whispered to herself, "You called me Seeker, but maybe we both were." Somewhere deep within the hum of the Axiom's engines, a soft echo answered, not in words but in feeling. A promise that neither species would ever be alone again. The Axiom had been traveling through uncharted space for 3 days since the Varel incident. Outside the viewing deck, the stars stretched endlessly, glowing with colors the crew had never seen before. The ship's systems ran smoother than ever, almost as if the vessel had gained a will of its own. The crew whispered that the ship was listening now to Alara. She walked the halls quietly, feeling the faint hum of the engines vibrating through her skin. Wherever she went, lights seemed to brighten slightly, and the consoles responded faster. Some of the younger officers stared at her with awe, others with fear. She didn't blame them. Even she didn't fully understand what she had become. That morning, she joined the captain on the command bridge. The man's face looked worn from sleepless nights. He nodded politely but kept his distance. On the main screen, streams of data flowed, alien coordinates and maps forming paths through space. "Those new coordinates your connection gave us," the captain said carefully. "They lead to systems we've never scanned. We don't even know if they're real." Alara studied the data, then touched one of the floating symbols. Instantly, the display shifted, showing a new star chart with an image of a glowing nebula. "They are real," she said quietly. That's where the Varelians' story continues. Fragments of them scattered across space. Their energy fields, their songs, their memory. They want us to see what became of them. Ryan, standing nearby, frowned. "Alara, are you sure this isn't dangerous? What if these places aren't meant for us?" Her expression softened. "Ryan, curiosity is how humanity survived. We ask, we learn, we grow. That's all they ever wanted us to do, to understand." The captain sighed, rubbing his temples. "Fine. We'll plot a course to the nearest set of coordinates. But the moment anything goes wrong, we turn back." The Axiom entered hyperspace that evening, and the crew gathered near observation ports as colors swirled past like rivers of light. Everyone felt the energy, peaceful but alive. The stars around them shimmered in rhythm with a quiet hum, faint but steady. It sounded almost like the song Alara had once heard deep inside Varel's heart. When the ship emerged from hyperspace, they found themselves before a dying world. The planet floated in darkness, its surface cracked and barren, yet glowing faintly with blue light. Scanners detected faint energy signals matching the same frequency as Ilara's. "They're here," she whispered. The captain ordered the landing team to remain aboard, but Ilara walked straight to the transport bay. Ryan followed her, shaking his head. "You're not going alone this time." The shuttle descended into thin atmosphere and touched down near a valley filled with giant crystal shards rising like frozen lightning bolts. Ilara stepped out first, feeling the soft hum beneath her boots. It was the same song, faint, fading, but familiar. She knelt and placed her palm against the cracked ground. Instantly, light spread across the valley, racing between the shards. The entire landscape came alive, glowing with the pulse of a memory. The ship's scanners caught a flood of energy readings. Ilara closed her eyes and the connection opened. Images filled her mind, not of people, but of thoughts. She saw flashes of the Varelians' final journey. Their world had died, but fragments of their consciousness had escaped, traveling as pure energy through space, seeking refuge in other worlds. Some reached here, this empty place, and had been waiting for her. Rian watched her from a distance. "Ilara, what do you see?" She turned slowly, her eyes shining brighter than ever. "They found peace. They left messages, memories of what they learned. They want us to carry them onward." The light around her grew stronger, lifting her hair and clothing in a soft wind that seemed to come from nowhere. The crystals vibrated, singing in deep resonant tones that echoed through the valley. The Axiom's crew could hear it through their comms, a melody of hope. Back on the ship, the captain stood in silence, listening. "Record all of it," he ordered quietly. Every sound, every frequency. The valley continued to glow brighter until it reached the sky. The energy rose in a great column, stretching upward like a signal to the stars. And then suddenly the light dimmed, leaving behind calm silence. Ilara stumbled slightly and Ryan rushed to her side. He caught her as she fell, helping her stand. She smiled faintly. "They're gone now. Their message is complete. What did they say?" he asked softly. She looked up at the sky. "They said, 'Remember us not as ghosts, but as dreamers who never gave up.'" The words hung in the air like a prayer. Ryan felt his chest tighten. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then, as they prepared to return to the shuttle, Ilara looked back once more. The ground shimmered briefly beneath her feet, forming a faint outline, a symbol made of light, the same one that had first appeared in her mind back on Varel. She touched it gently, and it glowed one last time before fading completely. Back aboard the Axiom, the crew was silent. No one knew what to say. The data collected from the surface filled every system with new information. Star patterns, languages, fragments of music. It was more than science. It was history. The captain turned to Ilara. "You've given us something that will change everything we know about life in the universe. But are you still you?" She smiled softly. "I think so. Maybe a little more." That night she stood alone in her cabin, staring at the stars outside. The faint hum of the alien melody still echoed in her mind, but it no longer felt like a voice calling for help. It was peaceful now, like a gentle goodbye. She whispered to the empty room, "You're free now." And somewhere out there, among the countless stars, she felt the quiet answer, not in words but in warmth. It was the last echo of a civilization that had lived through her. Humanity had not only found new knowledge that day, it had also found proof that even across galaxies, compassion and curiosity could bring life back from I always was. The Axiom had grown quieter since then, its systems stable but still carrying traces of alien code. The ship almost felt aware. Sometimes doors opened before anyone touched them, and the lights flickered gently when Ilara entered a room. The captain didn't speak about it anymore. He simply accepted that his ship now held a piece of another world. One morning, the ship detected a massive energy field ahead, a faint echo of the same frequency from Varel. The crew gathered on the bridge, watching as a cluster of small glowing structures appeared in deep space. They weren't asteroids or ships. They looked like floating shards of crystal arranged in perfect harmony, forming a ring that pulsed softly with light. Ryan's eyes widened. "That pattern? It's the same signal the Varelians used." Ilara, do you think this is another memory site? Ilara stared at the formation. Her pulse quickened, but not with fear. No, she said quietly. This isn't a memory. This is a message, their final one. The ship slowed as it approached the glowing ring. When it crossed the energy field, the screens went white. The crew shielded their eyes. For a few seconds, the ship's instruments failed completely. Then slowly, the light cleared. Outside, the stars looked different. A great image appeared in the void, a projection made of energy stretching across the darkness. It showed visions that every crew member could see and feel. They saw the rise of the Varelian civilization, their beauty, their wisdom, and finally their fall. The images carried no sorrow, only peace. The last part showed a human face, Ilara's, surrounded by light. Beneath her, glowing symbols formed into words in the universal code of translation. Through her, we are remembered. Through humanity, we live again. No one spoke. The entire crew stood still, their hearts heavy with awe. The projection slowly faded, leaving behind a single thread of light drifting toward the axiom. It touched the ship's hull gently and dissolved. Ryan broke the silence. They said goodbye. Ilara nodded, her eyes glistening. No, they said thank you. Back in her quarters, she felt calm for the first time in months. The alien voice that had once filled her thoughts was gone, not lost, but at peace. The faint blue glow in her eyes had dimmed, leaving only a trace like the last ember of a dying star. She sat at her desk, finishing the final pages of her record. When she was done, she uploaded the entire archive into the ship's memory. The words appeared on the main display for everyone to read. The Bridge Between Worlds, written by Dr. Ilara Wren. When the captain read it, he said quietly, "You've done more than any scientist in history. You didn't just make contact. You proved that memory and kindness can outlive death." Ilara smiled gently. It wasn't me alone. It was us, humans and them, together. That night, the axiom drifted past a silent nebula glowing faintly with blue light. Some said it was just stardust. Others whispered it was the Varelians' final resting place. Ilara stood by the viewing glass, her reflection framed against the stars. She whispered softly, "You said you wanted to be remembered. Now you will be." Ryan joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. "So what happens next?" he asked. She looked out at the horizon of stars. "We keep going," she said. "There are more worlds out there, more stories to uncover. That's what they wanted, for us to keep seeking." He smiled. "Then let's make sure we honor that." As the ship's engines hummed to life, Ilara placed her hand on the cold glass. For a moment, she thought she saw a flicker of light beyond the stars, a faint outline of a luminous figure watching from afar. She didn't need words to understand the message. It was the same feeling she had felt in the caves of Virel: connection, peace, and hope. The axiom turned slowly, its path cutting through the endless dark. Behind it, the stars shimmered like candles in a vast cathedral. Ahead lay a new horizon full of mystery and promise. Humanity was no longer alone, not because it had found another species, but because it had learned to listen, truly listen, to the voices hidden in silence. As the ship vanished into the distance, Ilara whispered one last time, her voice barely louder than a breath. "For science," she said with a soft smile, "and for the heart that dares to understand."